All right, everyone, welcome back to another edition of Inspiring Stories of Transformation. I'm Jomo, and if this is your first time tuning in, what we like to do here is bring on inspiring guests, entrepreneurs who are doing big things in the world and who have awesome visions of really making a difference, and really just having them on to share their story of where they come from, how they were able to go from, maybe where they were when they were growing up, or maybe some challenges they went through in their maybe young adulthood to adulthood, and basically to share that story to inspire any entrepreneurs out there who are pursuing their dreams, who are pursuing their big visions in life, to keep going. Because a lot of times, I know for me personally, I saw success story after success story after success story, and there was always a disconnect between where I was and where these people were. And it always made me feel like I was doing something wrong. Like, I wasn't in the right place, or I wasn't, you know, I wasn't gifted enough, and all of these kind of questions and all of these kind of just unclear thoughts just start bubbling to the surface when we don't have that kind of encouragement or support or the recognition that these people that we see succeeding in the world, they've gone through similar struggles that we're going through. So when we recognize that we're all in this together, that we all are doing our best every day to really just move forward, and that we're all human and we all experience very similar human experiences and human emotions and challenges. It really helps us understand, that these people that we see that have success, or that are just really living a life that seems very inspiring. They're going through very similar things. So very, very excited to have my guest on today. His name is Mr. Brian Benson. He's an actor from the Los Angeles area. And if you want to say hi, Brian, real quick to the viewers at home.
Hi, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I'm doing
Good.
well. So,
Good.
um, so I'm going to read your quick bio. It's actually listed on Brian's site. It's gbrianbenson.com. Really quickly, Brian is a television and film actor whose unique life experiences, self-improvement author, endurance athlete, business owner, speaker, father, musician, youth mentor, radio personality, world traveler, history junkie, and children's author are the colors that make up the palette for the many roles that he has played. In addition to acting, TV, and film, Brian enjoys creating his own projects. In 2011, Brian created Guitar Man, a movie project that he wrote, produced, and acted in that was filmed in downtown Reno, Nevada. And by the way, Brian, I actually just watched that. That it's on YouTube, and I watched that film a couple hours ago. Really, really inspiring stuff.
Thanks.
So yeah, definitely, man. So anyone tuning in, just head over to Brian's YouTube channel after this interview. You'll be able to check that out. The movie was written by Brian with the idea of sharing the messages that we all have a lot in common, and that our true gifts reside within ourselves. Guitar Man was well received and was accepted to 11 movie festivals, and was a winner at the Love Unlimited Film and Art Festival. Won an honorable mention prize in the narrative short category at the 2011 Los Angeles Movie Awards, as well as the Golden Reel Award from the Nevada Film Festival. Brian has another film project currently in post-production called Searching for Happiness, and hopes to have it sent out to film festivals in late spring of 2015. So you've also authored a couple of books, 4 books. Brian's list 26 and a half easy to use ideas on how to live a fun, balanced, and healthy life was a winner of the 2009 Next Generation Indie Book Award. and his latest book, Finding Your Voice, was an award-winning finalist for both the 2013 USA Book News and Indie Excellence Book Awards. Brian believes in giving back as much as he has been gifted. From having mentored hundreds of troubled people working as a community volunteer, Brian is eternally grateful to have gained the valuable lessons of listening, patience, and empathy. To raise money for charity, Brian joined a group of fellow philanthropic bicyclists to ride from Seattle to Washington, D.C. in 1996. Benson is a natural athlete who has finished over 50 triathlons, including 4 Ironman distance races. So that's pretty intense, and you've been through a lot, Brian, I can tell. And so I really appreciate you coming on to share a little bit more about your story and share whatever it is that you're passionate about these days. Because I know passions, they're always very similar and very aligned as we grow and as we evolve, but the passions evolve as well. So yeah, I think I've said enough at this point. So I'll give you the floor, Brian. And so anything that you want to share, I kind of just shared a bit of your story, but if there's any part of your story that you'd like to share as well, now would be the perfect time to do that.
Gosh, I don't know where to start. Some of that stuff that you mentioned that I did kind of feels like a lifetime ago, and was a different time in my life, but yet I can see looking back how some of the things I set my mind to accomplish, goals, helped lay the foundation for maybe what some of the things that I'm doing now. Just in that I was lucky at kind of a young age. I started getting into triathlons in my really early 20s due to a knee injury. I was rehabbing it, and a couple of my buddies had done some short races, and they said they had a lot of fun, and I kind of set that a short triathlon as a goal of mine to do when I got my knee healthy. And so I did it, and I just kind of really felt empowered, and it was a lot of fun, and I enjoyed the fact that it was kind of making me healthy, the exercise in preparation for it. And so I kind of got hooked, and I ended up doing, I think, 5 races that summer, and then the next summer I did, I think, 10, and then that following summer, my 3rd year in triathlons, I set a goal to do an Ironman. And I don't know, it's kind of almost like I had a premonition that I would do one. Even before I did my very first triathlon, I wrote a poem. It's not very good, but I was just thinking about it, and I actually kind of wrote a poem about someone completing an Ironman. And so I did that, kind of just filed it away, but then I just always knew that I would do it. And so when I entered the race, yeah, I was nervous, of course, because I had no idea what to expect. It's a really long day. But I just felt alive. And it was just really a wonderful experience. My dad traveled up there with me. I did it up in Penticton, British Columbia. It was about a 10-hour drive from where I lived in Oregon at the time, and it was just a really, really awesome experience that just kind of gave me a lot of confidence. And so I'm lucky that I had that kind of in my cap all these years. So when I decided to leave my family business about 6 years ago, because I just wasn't feeling like I was growing there anymore, it was just nice to know that I could do something, out of the ordinary if I put my mind to it. And so that was nice.
Very cool. So what other experiences would you say you had a similar mindset going into, and then were able to kind of like push through, and also talk about like the challenges of setting your mind to do something, but then breaking through it. It's one thing to just set your sights on something, but it's another to actually go through the motions and go through the process. that
Sure.
it takes in order to get there. So, can you remember any of the challenges that you faced, actually, specifically with the triathlon?
Gosh. You know, I was just having fun, and I was feeling healthy, and I was just kind of feeling empowered. And so I didn't really, I don't want to say I didn't have any challenges, because absolutely, sure I did. I had a few races where I showed up, and I just didn't feel very good that day. And, most of them I would kind of slog through because I feel like I have a lot of intestinal fortitude. But sometimes that's not always the smartest move, because it can really, you know, put you back quite a ways if you get sick or you get hurt doing that. But
Mm.
mm, I just, I just believed that I could do it, and I just wanted to. I don't know. It was just, it made me feel alive. So as far as struggles in triathlon, other than just something like having to swim in water that was really too cold, and I never handled the cold very well, so I would kind of get hypothermic, and that was just not fun at all. I didn't finish a few swims because of that. Uh, some of the long, long bike rides where maybe I didn't have enough to eat going into it, and I ended up bonking. That's kind of basically when your glycogen supplies are depleted and you really have nothing left. Um, but I don't know. I've always just kind of been one to challenge myself. I remember I played baseball for 1 year in high school, and I was a sophomore, and on the JV team, and I didn't get to play very much, and I felt like I should have got to play maybe a little bit more than I did, and so it wasn't the greatest experience. But when I got into my 30s, I found out about this overhand men's baseball league. And so I felt incomplete with baseball, so I decided to sign up for it, and it was so much fun, and I did really well, and so it kind of helped me. Oh, I don't know, heal that wound isn't really probably the right way of describing what my experience on baseball was, but it was a challenge in and of itself having to do that, and there was a lot of really good competition. There's some guys that played minor league baseball that were playing, and so that was a lot of fun too. Uh, but some of the times that I really had to step into kind of some uncomfortable areas probably have been in the last 5 or 6 years, after I left the family business. Yeah.
Okay, so I did want to ask you one other question about
Yeah.
that whole, basically your approach to baseball, and just like sports and your triathlon in general, is where are you more competitive, would you say, with others or more with yourself? Like, are you competing to be the best version of yourself every day? Like, where do you get the drive to basically keep pushing forward every day?
Interesting. I think at times there have been other people that maybe have fueled me a little bit. For the most part, though, it's me. It's my own inner drive, inner desire, issues, whatever you want to. There's probably a whole bunch of things there, kind of that that are conglomeration of that. But yeah, I've always really been lucky in that I'm pretty self-motivated. If I get an idea about something or an intuitive hit that I feel like I'm supposed to do, I'm able to, step into it,
Mm.
even if it's uncomfortable.
So it's following what you're really passionate about, following what really inspires you.
Yeah, and a lot of times as we probably start to talk about the last 5 or 6 years, it's following. It's not necessarily something that I'm passionate about, because some of the things I'm not quite sure that I'm passionate about yet. It's just that I feel like I'm supposed to open that door, and then it shows itself later on. You know what I mean? I'm just following my hunches, my intuition, and it's never really ever led me astray. So I'm able to trust it. And most of the times, when I do step into it, something that may be very uncomfortable, usually it's sometimes the passion comes for that thing, but other times it's just a knowing that I'm supposed to do it, and it doesn't feel like work, if that makes sense. So I'm not necessarily terribly passionate about things sometimes. I'm not answering this very well. But sometimes people just, get a passion for something and just want to just go for it. For me, I'm not really much of a goal setter. I'll just get an idea about something, and if it intuitively feels right, I'll step into it, and it usually blooms into something that I didn't really even think about prior, which is perfect for me at that particular time. Um, particularly, at that time in my growth process, my evolution, whatever you want to call it, and it usually will lead to the next step or the next door.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Was
Gotcha.
that too confusing?
So you're basically just following, and you're
Follow my
feeding,
hunches.
following your hunches and being aware of what opportunities and doors are open. Um, I guess like a lot of the things that I've gone through, very similar stuff has been like I've walked through a door. This opportunity has felt amazing. It's been like it's felt perfect. Like intuitively, I felt like I was supposed to do this. I was supposed to follow this.
Yeah.
And then there's something else that's like a higher, that seems like it's like a more evolved version of that. And then I follow that. And then a lot of times what I started to do, what I attempted to do in the beginning, now all of a sudden is like it's behind me, and I'm not focused on it anymore. So, you know, basically something else inspires me even more. So it's like sometimes I'm not sure if I'm bouncing around from thing to thing, and kind of leaving things behind that are uncompleted.
Right.
And I wonder, is this really the right, am I really doing things the right way, or am I just like kind of, it's almost like when things start to get really tough and like become like a struggle, that's when I tend to move to something else. And that something else is like it's more at ease. There's less of a struggle, there's less of a challenge there, or at least like
Yeah.
when I say, you know what I mean? Like it feels more aligned with flow, with like with what feels flowy for me. And so
Sure.
like, yeah, so is that kind of how you make your decisions? Is like, does this feel like an expansive experience for me?
That's really interesting. I mean, boy, sometimes it's okay to put something aside. You know what I mean? And to move on to something else. Other times it can be maybe we needed to stick it out a little bit longer, but if you're still moving forward and it's a good flow and it feels right and your energy's there and it still feels good, there's no reason why I don't think you should pursue the next thing that pops in. You know what I mean? Sometimes those initial little ideas or projects are just that first step to get us to the thing that makes us feel even more passionate. Um, I mean, for example, I have written some books, and I did not plan on writing anything. 6 years ago, I was out of balance, and I was just tired of running my family's business up in Oregon. And it wasn't that I was ungrateful. It was great, and I did it for 11 years. But I just felt like a part of me wasn't growing anymore, and I felt like there was something inside of me that needed to be released, although I had no idea what it was. And so I just took that chance and said, Dad, I'm not interested in doing this anymore. And he was okay with the decision, but it took about a year for that after I made the decision to actually leave because we decided to sell it, and it took a while to list it and find a buyer and do the exchange. But it turned out to be a blessing in disguise, even though I was really just through and ready to go. So that last little bit of being there, I just was really out of balance. And I just, I'm always trying to kind of be the best version of myself. So I actually just sat down and I wrote down a handful of things that I knew that would keep me in balance. And so I just focused on that. And that really helped me. And my intuition was just saying, expand the list and write a book, although I'd never written anything. And so I did, and I wrote my first book in about a month. And I just kind of, I could see the whole thing in front of me, kind of like that finishing an Ironman. You know what I mean? I just knew that that was what I was supposed to spend my energy on right then. And so I wrote it, I self-published it, and it kind of woke me up in a lot of different ways. But the most important thing of all is it kind of gave me some direction moving forward, because I had no idea what I was going to do after I left. Prior to the book, I just knew that I needed to leave, and just trusted that I'd be shown the way, and I was. So I then knew that I would probably need to be in front of people if I'm writing books, and that scared the crap out of me. Just terrified to speak in public, and my confidence wasn't very good, and probably self-worthiness needed to be worked on. So I just forced myself to take some speech classes. I did Toastmasters for a while. I even had someone with a lot of experience co-host a little radio show with me, and that was terrifying, but it was good for me. And I even created an interactive workshop on balance, different ways to stay in balance, and I did it that way so I wouldn't have to talk the whole time, and it worked out really well. But all these different things that I did helped me strengthen my foundation of being in front of people. And so, even though it wasn't always pleasant, I knew that I needed to do it. And it was exciting, and each time I did something new, it kind of lifted me up a little bit. And my intuition told me to take an acting class. And so I did that too, even though I had no plans on acting. And I found that to be very fun and cathartic in a lot of ways. And so I decided to kind of pursue that also. So I moved to LA a year and a half ago. I don't really know where everything's headed, but I'm just kind of letting each thing that I get involved with guide me. I know that I'll write more. I've got a lot of stuff that I've written that I haven't used yet, but right now it just feels really good to be just focusing on the acting, and just I've learned so much about myself, and I think I've healed a lot of parts of myself too, doing that. And yeah, it's an ongoing journey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is there a specific type of acting that you find brings you the most, I guess, catharsis?
Boy, I'm not sure. Yeah, it's been kind of interesting. I've enjoyed playing not very nice characters. And I'm not, we all got stuff inside of us that we probably want to release, some anger, whatever, but it's just kind of like you get a free pass, and it feels really good because I'm a really nice guy, and I'm not like holding anything back, but yet there's a part of me while I was writing the self-help books that I put a lot of pressure on myself to be kind of perfect, because I felt like here I am writing self-help, I need to be, perfect, and that's ridiculous. I just need to be me. And so, anytime that I can just get involved in a scene where I just kind of lose myself and just connect with the other person, whether it's in a scene study class or it's in a part in a project, it's just it's a point of really being able to be present and just kind of dialed in that sweet spot, and it's very, very healing, and it feels great. Yeah.
I feel you, man.
Yeah. I mean, that's the key to life, right? Just to live in the moment. Try to be as present as we can be, and not think into the future or delve into the past. The past really, although I'm sure there's some things I brought along with me, I don't really feel like I'm thinking about the past much. For me, it's usually the future a little bit, and like kind of maybe where I'm headed, because I feel like I'm supposed to do what I do on a little larger scale, and I don't know what that means, and a lot of times I'm doing what I do with shaking knees, but so it's been a really good lesson for me in learning how to just try to stay in the present moment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you were talking about like your visions and what direction you want to head moving forward. Uh, is acting a big part of that?
We'll see. I mean,
Hmm.
it really it feels right to me right now. I enjoy it. I go out on a lot of auditions, and that in and of
Hmm.
itself has been interesting. You have to really learn how to deal with failure is not the right word, but I mean, you really gotta. It really forces you to build up your strength and your belief in yourself, and let go of that need to look outside of ourselves for validation. Because it's tough. I don't try not to think this way, but I mean, just for example, I went on a commercial audition maybe a couple months ago, and they had a piece of paper at the check-in there where it said 754 men were submitted by their agents for this spot. 54 got selected to audition. One will get the job. So I mean, those aren't very good odds, right? But
Hmm.
I've been lucky. I've booked some nice things, and which have led to other things. And so, for me, I just try to let go of, if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. All I can do is my best, and then I just have to let it go and just trust that I'm heading in the direction I'm supposed to. But yet, each time I do go on an audition, it's another chance for me to uh, to work on myself, or you know what I mean, to learn something in a variety of different ways. Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
You mentioned something that really I really resonated with. You were talking about how uh, when you were doing all these things, you were very much kind of like pushing yourself like on like almost like on the edge, right? Uh, like you're putting yourself out there, and it's kind of uncomfortable at times, but you just kind of find ways to get through it all. And I think I don't know if you've studied too much about uh, I've recently looked into like the science behind flow and flow states. Um,
Interesting.
do you find that um, when you're kind of putting yourself out there, a lot of times um, like do these auditions, especially where the odds are like not in your favor, or at least on the surface, right? On the surface, they're not in your favor, but do you find that there's ways to kind of give yourself an edge that are intangible that you're able to like tap into through through just like putting yourself out there, and also yeah, just like finding your own space of flow.
Well, it's definitely been a process, and boy, from when I first got here and started doing auditions to now, I feel like I'm a different person. But everything's energy, and so the more centered we are, the more confident we are. The people who are watching us audition, perform, what have you, interact with us, meet us on the street, wherever. That makes a lot of difference. You know what I mean? That whole law of attraction, energy flows where it goes stuff. But I mean, it just we draw in kind of what we're putting out. And so I've always been pretty positive, but boy, I've gotten to many auditions where I wasn't confident, and I they could probably just sense it a mile away. You know what I mean? And they just probably take one look at me or whatever, and it's just like, next. So right anymore, I just trust my journey, and I've always been taken care of one way or another, and I just try to keep my energy up, my confidence up, and just not hold on to any expectations, because that could be a killer too. Um,
Mm,
because it's really all we can do is our best at that moment, and it's not up to us. I mean, we might do it. I might have a great audition, but yet might not exactly look like the person that they want for the part. So, that's not really, we can take it as a knock or whatever, but there's no reason to. You know what I mean? It's just the way it is. Uh, I've had bad auditions, or I felt like I've had bad auditions, and I've ended up booking a part, and I've had great auditions where I haven't. So I don't even think anymore. I spend like maybe 2 or 3 minutes on it afterwards, see if, maybe write down anything I can learn for the next time, and just let it go. And yeah.
Do you think that you developed that way of seeing the world through? Was it something that you were raised and brought up with, like that mentality, or do you think it was more so just over time through experiences you kind of had to see the world that way in order to just adapt, in order to, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
um,
I had a good upbringing. I mean, I had my issues like everybody else and stuff, but I think for me, it's definitely just been kind of part of my maturity and my paying attention. I've always kind of tried to live as almost like an observer of my own life, so I can kind of try to see what's going on, and so I can try to work through some of my problems or issues a little bit more clearly, but as I pay attention and see how something felt, and I use that as a barometer a lot. So I think it's just natural if I've been doing it for this long. If I'm paying attention, I have to kind of continue to move forward and learn from the experiences. I mean, for those that aren't, they're probably not doing it anymore, or they're just like gluttons for punishment. I don't know.
yeah.
I mean, I've still got a long ways to go. I mean, my gosh. But
And you'll never get there, right?
that's another thing we have to let go of too. It's an ongoing process, and it's just be happy with what we've got at that moment, and I'm really learning how to do that, and it just makes life a lot more enjoyable. I mean, I love to go hike, and so I'll probably try to go do it 2 or 3 times a week, and it just gets me out of my head, and it's so healing for me in a lot of ways. But I just try not to live with expectation anymore. Although, I definitely have some, oh God, what's the word? It'll pop in here in a second. I mean, I don't really have goals anymore. I have like, intentions.
Mm-hmm.
And so because for me, sometimes when I set a goal, it would be a little bit too narrow maybe on how I was to get to that goal, and it wouldn't happen. And then that would lead to potentially disappointment. So now I just have intentions, and the field's wide open on how to get there. And I had never planned on, acting. I'd never planned on writing, any of that stuff. And so it's just because I kind of kept myself open that they've happened. And so, that's just kind of the way I try to hold my outlook.
Very cool, man. Cool. You mentioned that you like to go hiking, and I'm a big hiker as well. Do you use any other tools to basically stay in this space on a regular basis, like daily practices kind of thing?
I didn't hear the word. To stay in what?
Just to stay in a space of, just feeling good and just being in tune with your intuition.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Connecting with nature helps me keep my channels open, eating healthy, getting enough sleep. Food is huge, you know what I mean? What I eat is huge. I meditate a bit. I just, for a while there, when the books started kind of coming through me, I really put the pedal to the metal and pushed a lot. And occasionally things would happen, but most of the time I would just hit walls when I pushed. It's because I was kind of forcing, and I wasn't really listening to those times when I needed to maybe take a break. And so now I don't, I work hard when I feel like I'm supposed to, but otherwise, if I feel like I need to take a break, I'll take a break. you know. And it's not always easy because I am kind of a go-getter, but yet I'm such a different person now than I was 5 years ago. And I think it just helps me stay in flow better. And because when we're living kind of a proactive life instead of a reactive life, when we're in balance, then uh, we can be ready for those opportunities to come, and we can, I think, handle them in a more focused manner.
Mm-hmm.
So balance is really important for me. Probably the most important thing in my life is just try to stay in balance.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's interesting that the very first thing that I did was a book, a whole bunch of different ways to stay in balance. So it's just kind of there are no accidents. So it was just kind of lesson number one for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah.
Cool, man. Would you say that you're uh, one of the things that I wanted to mention before was this whole idea, as you know, as entrepreneurs, a lot of times we get caught up in this like idea of perfectionism and trying to make everything perfect and making sure that everything is just like perfectly in aligned. And I think that doing things to relax and just take a break and chill out is definitely helpful. So you're definitely reminding me of that, and I know that I've noticed recently in my life that I've been kind of pushing more so than kind of allowing things to come to me,
Mhm.
and I'm realizing that that's really like a big piece of creating anything is but then there's like even when because I know you probably relate to this as a runner, but like when you're running and you're just like at the kind of like your breaking point and you're just about you feel like you can't move any further and you just push yourself and you basically you give yourself like a second gear, right? It's like a second
Wind.
boost, second wind, exactly. So it's like how do you find the difference between when you need to push yourself for that second kind of boost
Yeah.
versus like stopping? Is there a way to kind of decipher the two, or is it just kind of random?
I think it's just kind of random, but just check in with yourself. Check in with your heart. Check in with just your intuition. The more you pay attention, the more you'll be able to discern what is pushing and what is, pushing and forcing, and what is, uh, it's a way you feel about something. It's hard to explain, but for me, when I know I'm supposed to do something, it almost doesn't even feel like work, and the energy just kind of comes from almost out of nowhere, and I can get a lot done in a very short period of time. So that's allowed me to relax a bit when I'm not feeling very creative, and it allows, it's all right. It's time to take a break. You know what I mean? And just do nothing for a day or go play, because that's one thing that I need to do more is play, and that's important too. But so I've gotten to the point where I can trust that if I need to get something done, I usually can. Or if a lot of the things that I've written, they'll come while I'm hiking. So it's almost like initially it was kind of felt like I was cheating. I mean, I'm taking a break. I shouldn't be. I should be working. But I'll go on a hike. I'll get an idea, and I'll just say a whole bunch of ideas into my phone and save it, and that'll be a blog right there. I just get back and boom, it's done. So I just really, really value my downtime, because that is really what allows me to be as creative as I can be.
Mhm.
Some people are able to burn both candles at the end and still be creative and stuff, but it doesn't work very well for me. So everybody's
Gotcha.
different. Everybody's different.
Yeah. Very cool, man. All right. Well, I think we'll wrap it up here. But I really appreciate you coming on to share your story and share your perspective. And
Sure.
It's definitely helped me get clear on some things. So I'm sure those are tuning in also receive some clarity from this as well. So
Cool.
once again, if people want to get in touch with you, is the best way through your website?
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. gbrianbenson.com. The letter G, brianbenson.com.
Gotcha. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone for tuning in. And for more inspiring stories of transformation like this, be sure to subscribe to this channel. And look forward to seeing you next time. And thanks for tuning in. And thank you, Brian.
Thank
Peace
you,
out.
Joe. Take care.
Take care.